Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to be learning how to cut this beautiful bustier gown with a deep neckline. So if it's something you would love to learn, do well to watch to the end of the video, like, share and subscribe. So without further ado, let's jump right into the main video. So from the top here is our shoulder line and our starting point. I'm going to come down from the top of the paper here to mark my bust point. From my shoulder to my bust point is 9.5 inches. I'll mark that and extend the line across. I'll come up here again, come down from the shoulder line to my bust point and mark. From my shoulder to my under bust is 12 inches. I'm going to mark that all the way, then extend the line across. I'm going to come down to mark my waist in front. From my shoulder to my waist in front is 16 inches, and I will mark that line across this way. Then I'm going to come down from the waistline to mark my hip point. I'm going to mark 7 inches. Well, if you're drafting for a much taller person, you can use 8 or 9 inches. I'll go ahead and extend that line across. So I'm going to add more paper to this one. So I'm going to add more paper so we can mark out the length. So from the shoulder line again, I'm going to come down to mark the length of my dress. I marked 32 inches as the length. So this is the full length, this is the hip line, this is the waistline, this is the under bust line and the bust line. I'm going to come to the shoulder line, divide my shoulder by 2, which is 7.5. Then I'll add ½ inch because it has a sleeve to the measurement, so I marked 8 inches. At that point, I'll come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. So I'll come here to mark a neck width of 2.5 inches. I'll connect from the shoulder slope all the way to the neck width. So the next thing is to mark our chest line. To mark your chest line, divide your bust by 6, then add 1.5 inches. I got 7. I'll go ahead and extend that 7 across this way. So this is my chest line. On my chest line, I'm going to come here to mark my shoulder measurement, the 8 inches. I'm going to mark it right here to have a straight line. I'm going to connect from the shoulder slope all the way to the 8 inches this way. So on this line, I'm going to divide it into 2 equal halves to get the midpoint. At the midpoint, I'm going to go in by ½ inch. Then I'll come to the chest line, divide my bust circumference by 4. I'll go ahead and connect this point together to form my armhole. So the next thing is to mark our dart, and to mark your dart, you are going to divide your nipple to nipple measurement by 2. My nipple to nipple measurement is 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. I'm going to mark it on all the lines, and I'll go ahead and connect the point with a straight line this way. So I'm going to come to my shoulder line, divide it into 2 equal halves to get a midpoint. I'll connect to our dart leg this way. So on the center front, I'm going to be marking ½ inch here, and then on the side front, I'll mark 1 inch. So on the under bust line, I'm going to mark ½ inch here and 1 inch. But if you are a plus size person, you can mark 1 inch on the center front and 1.5 inches or 2 inches on the side front. I'll mark that all the way to the full length this way. I'll go ahead and connect all the points together with a straight line. So I'm going to come down from the bust line by 1 inch, and I'll connect from the under bust with my curve rule all the way to that 1 inch. I'll do the same thing on this other side. So the next thing we are going to do right now is to impute our round body measurement. We've already marked our bust measurement. I'll add my sewing allowance. I'll come to the under bust line, divide my under bust by 2, replace the 1.5 inches for that, and add my sewing allowance. I'll come to the waistline, divide my waist by 4, the 1.5 inches for that, I'll replace it, and then add my sewing allowance of 1 inch. I'll come to the hip line, divide my hip by 4, replace the dart intake. Then I'm going to add extra 2 inches because it's an exaggerated hip gown. I'll add extra 2 inches. You can do from 2 to 4, but let it not be more than 4 inches, okay? And whatever I have on the hip line, I'm going to bring it down to the full length, and I'll go ahead and connect all these points together. So this is what we have. The next thing is to mark out our bust dart. And to mark out your bust dart, this is the difference you have from your shoulder to your waist in front and your shoulder to your waist at the back. My shoulder to my waist in front is 16, while from my shoulder to my waist at the back is 14.5, so the difference is 1.5 inches. I'll come down by that 1.5 inches from the bust line, and I'll connect it all the way to our dart leg this way, and we are going to be cutting this area out, and this is it. The next thing we're going to do right now is to work on the neck depth. So for the neck depth, you're going to determine where you want your V neckline to stop. Okay, it can decide to bring it all the way to the bust line, just the way the thumbnail is, or you stop at the chest line. It depends on where you want it to stop. So I don't want to bring it all the way to the bust line because I don't want my cleavage to show. So I came off from the bust line by 1/2 inch, and I'm going to connect from my neck width all the way to this point like this. Like I say, it depends on where you want yours to stop. Okay, so this area I'm marking out is the area we don't need, and we're going to cut it out. So this is basically it. I'll go ahead and cut my pattern paper out now. Make sure to close down your bust dart before you cut out, and this is what we have. So if you look at the thumbnail very closely, you notice that the center front has a joining at the center like this. Instead of cutting it on fold, they cut it ×2 and then they join it back. So if you want, you can cut yours on fold, but if you want to replicate what is on the thumbnail, you cut the center front ×2 and then you join it back. You add your sewing allowance when cutting it. Go ahead and cut the back pattern now. So for the back pattern, I've already gone ahead to rule out the necessary lines: my bust line, waist line, hip line, and my full length. I'm going to come to the top here, divide my shoulder by 2. I'm going to mark it right here, add 1/2 inch, just the way we did for the front. At that point, I'll come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. I'll come here to mark my neck width of 2.5 inches. The neck width for the back and front must be the same. Then I'll connect from the shoulder slope all the way to that point. I'm going to come down to mark my neck depth of 1 inch, and I'll connect with my curve rule from the neck width all the way to the neck depth this way. The next thing is to mark the chest line, and to do that, divide your bust by 6, just the way we did for the front, then add 1.5 inches. In my case, I got 7. I'll go ahead and extend the point across like so. So this is my chest line. On the chest line, I'm going to mark my shoulder measurements here to have a straight line from up. Then I'm going to connect from the shoulder slope all the way to the point we just marked on the chest line. I'm going to come to this line here, divide it into 2 equal halves to get the midpoint. At the midpoint, I'll go in by 1/2 inch, and I'll come to the chest line, divide my bust circumference by 4. I'll go ahead and connect all the points together to form my armhole with my curve rule this way. The next thing is to mark out the dart. Divide your nipple to nipple measurement by 2, just the way we did for the front. I'll mark it on the chest line, bust line, waist line, and all the way to the full length. Then I'll go ahead and connect all these points together with a straight line this way. So I'm going to come to the shoulder slant, and I'm going to divide what I have here into 2 equal halves to get the midpoint, just the way we did for the front. And I'll connect from that point all the way to our dart leg this way. So I'm going to come to the waistline, mark 1/2 inch on both sides of our dart leg. And I'm going to come down from the waistline by 6 inches. I made a mistake and I came down from the hip line instead of the waistline by 6 inches. Please correct that when you are drafting your own pattern. Then from the chest line, I'm going to come down by 1 inch, and I'm going to go ahead and connect my dart together. Like I said, please, when you are drafting yours, come down from the waistline by 6 inches, not from the hip line. It was a mistake. So this is what we have for our dart. The next thing, I'm going to come to the waistline here and mark 1/2 inch here on the waistline. The reason why we are doing this is because our back is not flat, so we don't have any form of bulginess around the back. So we are just taking out this excess that is supposed to be at the back. So we just slant it up this way and take it down, and the excess here, we're going to cut it out. Alright, so the next thing is to impute our round body measurement. We've already marked our bust measurement. I'm going to add my seam allowance of 1 inch. I'm going to come to the waistline, divide my waist by 4. Then the 1 inch for that, I'm going to replace it, then add my seam allowance. I'll come to the hip line, divide my hip by 4. And this little that we have here, I'll replace it, and then add extra 2 inches, just the way we did for the back. And then I'm going to add my seam allowance. I'll come to the hip full length. Whatever I have on the hip line, I'll transfer it to the full length, and I'll go ahead and shape my pattern this way. And this is what we have for the back. The back is very easy to draft, and this is basically it. I'll go ahead and cut it out. So this is what we have for the back. We're going to be cutting ×2 of each piece, and that is basically it for this tutorial. If you find this video helpful, please do where to like, share, subscribe before you go. See you in the next